Welcome to the Kurre and Klapow show here on Tony Curry Radio on TKR and of course on Facebook Live. We do something every single week. Normally on Thursday, but you're going to be doing a little traveling, it appears. So we thought we'd move it up to Wednesday, which means Fox 6. Anytime we call Fox 6, we're like, hey, we can't do Thursday. We want to be on Tuesday. They're like, okay.
Yep.
They're great.
They've called us and asked to pivot too.
Yeah. So we're going to be on today at 9:35 on the Big Fox, and we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the Michael Bublé thing.
I don't know exactly. I was going to ask you.
Well, we'll talk about the Michael Bublé thing.
We could talk about anything.
Michael Bublé recently came out and said that his manager told him that if he had not settled down and had a family, he would have been much more famous. And I'm thinking, first of all, why in the hell are you saying that? Because if I'm your wife and kids, I'm like, okay, why are you bringing this up? He sold 75 million albums. He's got 4 Grammys. And I mean, I think it goes for any guy or girl. If you don't get married, you got more time to spend on your career, and you're dedicated to whatever that career is, then chances are you'll be more successful at it because you ain't got all this other peripheral stuff. But he did say, but I'll always remember that family's number one. But he said it's almost impossible to be successful in both, and I say horse shit.
Well, he is successful. Right.
He's incredibly successful. We're hearing that he's successful in his family life. He's married for like 12 or 13 years.
We have so much, even before Fox, there's a lot to dive into there in the, what do you mean by successful?
Yeah, we could all be better at work if we didn't have family and kids to take care of him. And for the most part, I'm assuming that when he's on the road, he ain't watching his kids.
No, I mean, this is, I said to you, this is, they talk about work-life balance. That's horseshit. You can't, it's not balance. It's what we call blend. Yeah. You've got all these things. They all can't, and people love to do this. Well, it's number one priority. Well, whatever is number one, then everything else is number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Sure.
Well, I know. But people don't want to admit, I think it's hard to admit, to say, work is number one priority. That means you as family are number 2.
Let me ask you this. Is it okay if you're giving your family life enough to make your work your number one priority over your family? Because I would say Ozzy Osbourne is that. He's going to be playing, by the way, the halftime show of the Rams-Bills game tomorrow night. He is going to be doing a medley of his hits.
They better have defibrillators.
He looks great, but I mean, a lot of makeup makes it. So Sharon Osbourne did the whole, you're moving back home, you're done with touring, this is the 90s. He was miserably laid around with the kids. Yeah. He was a doting father. He was a great father, but she knew he was unhappy, and she said, we got to get your ass back on the road. Yeah. So she pushed him back out, and that's where he finds joy.
Yes.
But so when Tom Brady's at home, he is a doting father, and he seems to be father of the year when he's with his kids. But what does he really want to do? So he unretires. He goes back to the National Football League. His wife just came home yesterday, by the way, from Costa Rica. She came back to see the kids, but she didn't move back into the house. She's staying down in Miami in a hotel. So we'll give you a Gisele Bündchen, Tom Brady update. That's because he said something really interesting on his podcast on Monday that I want to. This is a psychological gem for you. I want to read it to you, and you're going to go. The big D is on the horizon.
Yeah, it doesn't look.
I hate to say that. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
We're going to talk about getting haircuts at sporting events.
I know.
Global catastrophes. Man, we got global warming. We got fires all over the place. Natural disasters are getting worse. We're losing all of our polar bears. We got green light. We're going electric, and of course now, because of the heat, now they're telling us not to. Out in LA, they're like, put your AC on 78 and stop charging your cars.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they're telling us in LA right now. Go buy the electric cars, save the world. No, by the way, you're only allowed to charge your car for an hour a day. They're like, what the hell? What are we supposed to do?
No, I know. My family and friends are like, it's 108.
Yeah. We
can't water our lawns, so we'll get a ticket. We get it. And now we all bought electric cars, right? Because we wanted to do right. And now they're telling us we can't charge our cars, or we shouldn't charge our cars. And it's so funny too that when they say they, well, part of the reason they are doing it is so that we don't have a massive, the power outage thing. And it really speaks to. I am not an expert in our national infrastructure.
Yeah.
But increasingly, you're seeing for the average person, that's what I am, like, we're not good. Like, we ain't ready. We don't, like, the whole power grid and water distribution. You realize we think we're great.
Yeah.
We're pretty damn fragile.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong.
Oh, I am.
Because I got some numbers
So, okay.
that will flip
we're
this
just
whole catastrophe. We're in a much better place now than we've ever been on this world.
we're just wimpy. Yes? We're whiny?
No, but we like you do on Tuesdays or Monday, Tuesday for Adapt or Perish. We're adapting, and we're much richer now than we have been. So we're finding ways to adapt to our own screw ups. I'll give you the numbers.
Okay.
It's really interesting because if you think the whole world's falling around you, I'm going to give you some numbers. You're going to go, well, that doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah.
For example, in the 1920s, roughly 4.5% of the earth burned from wildfires annually.
What are we at now?
2.5%.
Ah.
So when you hear about millions
Yeah.
and millions and millions of acres, I was thinking the other day, I was like, how much of the earth is not burned at this point? When you watch the news,
Right.
you get this feeling that there's like 98% of the world is scorched and we still have a couple of green areas left, and it's not true. It's just not true. So 4.5% used to burn annually, and now we have 2.5% burning, but it's the end of the world. Now, one of the reasons that's happening is it's affecting us humans much more effectively because we're building out.
We're
in
there.
the woods.
Right.
We're going to live on mountains.
Well, that makes right. So, right. So the problem is we're there.
Yeah.
They were burning before. It was burning. Well, but again, you're right. We screw it up, and we're living with the consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the climate. I don't know what it is, but the classic everybody building on in hurricane zones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So there may have been more hurricanes in 1930 or whatever, 1920, but you also had less people living there.
How many times do you have to hear about the Great Barrier Reef that it's dead?
It is.
No, it's not.
It's not dead.
No, it's
Okay.
not. No, the Great
It's
Barrier
dying.
the Great Barrier Reef right now is larger than it's ever been since it was recorded.
Because look what we're doing. We're conserving.
Okay, well, stop pushing down my throat that we're killing all the fishes and that the
We are, but we were.
wrong.
So
Wrong. We're healthy. We're good.
Right.
I'm just telling you.
'Cause
We'll get into that. Today is National Attention Deficit Disorder Awareness Day.
What? Huh? Okay, it's okay. Listen, I speak as one.
You know that
I'm in the society.
This is one of those new. This is this is one of those new diseases. It's like that and allergies. We never had allergies till like 10 years ago, and now everyone's got allergies. We never had sleep problems till like 10 or 15 years ago. Now we have to have shit that keeps us awake during the night, and then we have to have stuff that makes us sleep.
The sleep one's different. You can do the allergies.
But ADD, man, I never knew about ADD until about 10 or 15 years ago, and now it's a major problem.
Well, it was. Listen, and there is very good research. It has been there.
Yeah.
But this is like a lot of other things. We called it.
Just like gay people?
Yeah.
They've been there, we just didn't know? I mean, is that a good
I
analogy?
mean, no, it's a terrible analogy.
But there's no more gay people now than there were 20 years ago, is there?
What? No.
Are there more gay people? Elliot, are there more gay people now than there was 20 years ago? Yes or no?
No, there are more people who
but it sure feels like there's a lot more.
Who are open.
Yeah, but it sure feels like there's a lot more gay people.
Because people are saying
exactly, but there's not more gay people.
Right. So the thing is the same. It's the same with AD. Yeah. I know. I just don't like you're juxtaposing a natural way of being.
That's what I do.
I know, with a psychiatric disorder.
Well,
actually, I'm sorry. No, not a psychiatric.
Not a psychiatric.
No, it's a neurocognitive disorder.
Exactly.
Okay. So one of the problems we had with ADD and ADHD was way back we just thought, okay, these are problem children.
Yeah.
Right. These are kids with bad parenting.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then we went, oh, some of these kids, a portion of them, okay, it can't be bad parenting because no matter what, we can't get the folks. And as the research went on and on and on, Russ Barkley is a very famous psychologist who really has studied this, and we realized that it's not a parenting thing. Your brain's wired wrong. Think of it as I don't know as bipolar. Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of idea. It's a neurocognitive problem. But what we then found was, oh look, a lot of times they say, well, kids will grow out of it.
Yeah.
Well, they don't.
Yeah.
Some of them adapt, some of them don't, and this is where adult ADD and ADHD, people are like, oh, that's just, you're just not trying hard enough. No, there is clear brain differences in people who have it, and we have effective treatments, and it's not that everybody, and this is the one thing too, you cannot take your kid, I can't tell my parents, my kid is a problem child, go to the pediatrician, put him on Ritalin. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a lot of assessment that has to go on, but the good news is, if you do have ADHD, kid or adult, there are effective treatments, medical or pharmacological, and psychological. Yeah. So it's like a real thing. I hate when people...
No, I think it's real too. I mean, we had a friend of ours who had a son, and this is 5-6 years ago, and he's 10, and she told me she's got ADD, and I hadn't been around a child. Now, my 15-year-old, my special needs son, I think has got some type of ADD, but he's got a multitude of other things. He's on the spectrum. He's got brain disorders. Right. He's got all... But I mean, he will go over the same thing over and over and over again. I think he may just have a sprinkle of ADD in there just because he can't, but a lot of it could be his brain.
But you were able to see a kid with...
It was the most unbelievable thing that I've ever seen.
Literally can't...
No, it could not get through a thought without collecting another thought. Yeah. And it was like constantly picking something up, moving over. I mean, he was, and I was sympathetic. I mean, I was compassionate. I felt bad for the kid. He was fine. He was good. I don't think he knew how he was reacting to everything. But picking up a good, can I play this? No, you can't play it. Can I play this?
Right, it's a very different than what we typically think of is the disruptive child.
Yeah.
Right, oh my God, that kid's... And again, if you watch kids who've got ADD or ADHD, oh my God. I mean, it's everything they can do for themselves to just, keep it together.
Today is also National Salami Day. I love me some salami.
I know, you do like salami.
Well, salami's great because it's good pretty much forever. Salami never goes bad.
Never?
No, I mean, lunch meat's supposed to be good 5 to 10 days, but salami, because it's got so much fat in it, I've eaten salami that's like 4 months old, and it's still good.
Yeah, but it's not like beef jerky. Like, it won't last.
It's really close. If you keep it in the refrigerator...
It'll last.
Yeah. I mean, my mom used to always say, smell it if it smells bad, but salami already kind of has that salami smell. When people say, it's salami breath, it's bad breath. It's weird, because salami breath never smells good, but salami smells really good. I haven't had a good salami sandwich in a long time. My mom used to butter the bread first and then put the salami on the butter with mustard. Oh, it was so good. I love salami sandwich. Salami and crackers. Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's
Now, I don't like the Genoa. Hard salami. Genoa's got this aftertaste to it. The Genoa salami, sometimes they screw you up. And take the skin off, please. Sometimes they don't take the skin off and you're biting and all the skin's coming out, which is still fine. It's still salami sandwich, but salami's good. Today's also Chrissy Hines' birthday for the Pretenders. You want to take a stand? She's 71.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later on this morning here. Al Cooper's watching us this morning. I want to thank Al for being one of our brand new sponsors. I always fawn over our brand new sponsors because I love having them on, and I've been talking about them a lot. People are like, damn, dude, what kind of money is this guy spending with you in order to get
millions,
all this airtime?
Millions.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I just do this for my clients because I love them, and what I really love, is I like to make sure my clients are taken care of. They know they're getting a lot of love. So Brad, David, Shane, Dakota, Jeremiah, and Al Cooper are up there at the CoosaValleyAutoSale.com. They're in Sylacauga. I drove up there. I need to go back up there and see them. Andy Morgan, good morning to you. And they do a wonderful job. They do a customer co-op with their vehicles. I've worked on a lot of car lots, lot of car lots. I've probably owned over 30 vehicles because I've gotten cars from dealerships and I ended up paying for them. And I went up there and I want to buy a car from them. I got some housing stuff I got to take out first, but it's the first thing I'm going to do because I got a vehicle that's got 160,000 miles on it, and I'm ready to trade it in and get a used car. And I'm realizing now that I don't need a new car. That used cars are just as good, particularly at Coosa Valley Auto Sale, because if you buy a car from them and you have an issue, bring it back and they'll fix it for you for free. That's great. Labor's free. You have to buy the parts, though. CoosaValleyAutoSale.com. They're open, he says 10 to 4:30, 9:30 to 4:30, whatever, but he'll answer the phone. 256-267-0296. 256-267-0296. It's Al Cooper. And, again, I've talked to a lot of car guys, and, I'll talk to my manager. He is the owner of the place, along with Brad, who's just recently got married, Brad Porch. He sat down and told me exactly what he paid for the vehicle, what he was going to charge me for it, and why, which I thought was really interesting. Like, wait a minute, this car's got, why are you charging me? He's like, let me explain to you why I'm charging more for this car. So, great stuff, and he's totally transparent with you, and of course, they sell to sell again. So, we'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. Wanted to get into a couple stories here. First of all, I think this, want to get global stuff, or do you want to talk about the Michael Bublé stuff? Or we get the Tom Brady stuff's kind of what to say.
Okay, you're driving. I'm just here to answer questions, Tony. I'm just here to offer psychological insight. So
we'll give you a Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen update. And the reason we do this is like they're rich. Why are we talking about the relationship? I think it affects us all when you see two people make something work. You're proud of that because we know how hard it is as a celebrity, and she's obviously a celebrity in her own right. She makes more money than he does, believe it or not. He's won 7 Super Bowls. He unretires. So he takes 11 days off for personal reasons. And he came out and said, listen, there's been a lot. He didn't say shit show, but he did say shit. And he's like, there's a lot of stuff that's happened here in my life. And you know, much like we spoke before the show, life happens. You got to live life on life's terms. So after taking those 11 days off, we found out that Gisele split, went to Costa Rica. She did not take the kids with her. Not sure where the kids were. I'm assuming they were taken care of. She came back yesterday to see her kids, not to see Tom. There are close sources saying they're headed for a divorce. Other sources are saying it's not. They're trying to work some things out.
They've been married how long? 20
no,
years?
it's 12, 13 years.
Okay, not that long. Okay.
But 2009 they got married, so 13 years. So he does a podcast. This is interesting because everyone's doing podcasts now, right? There's 100,000 new podcasts every year.
Yep.
And when you do a podcast and you're thrust into the public light for whatever you're going through, you can't take a week off. It ain't a good look. So he had to do his podcast on Monday, and obviously, hey, how's things going there at the house? How's things going in the football season, blah, 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 because podcasts are personal.
I was just going to say, it's not an interview.
No, if you want to find out what's going on with Tom on the football field, go watch ESPN. You want to find out what's going on with Tom in his life. So he said, you always have moments. These are in quotes. I don't think life is always the ultimate joy. I don't think life is the ultimate pain. I don't think it's always the ultimate struggle. I don't think life is always the ultimate happiness. He then goes on to add, your life ebbs and flows through the clouds and through the sun and through the rain and through the beautiful days, and you appreciate the moments you find joy in the little things. Dr. Josh Klapow, our UAB
Tom Brady, I mean, this is nothing against him, but he really is so media savvy. That just told me, that said nothing. That told me that.
It sounds like a guy who's going through
maybe
a crisis.
Maybe.
And he's painting it very, very well.
Well, he's not going
to sit there and say, Giselle's not home right now. We're on the outs. It's going to take a lot to fix this right now.
No, but
I screwed up. He's not going to go that far.
Right.
So he's painting this picture. He's flying above the clouds.
Things are good.
And he's over here, and he's over here. It's good.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's life, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. It's a shit show at home.
As an average fan, you're 45, you won 7 Super Bowls, you're rich beyond your leave. How bad can it be? Well, I got this.
The relationship can be really bad.
It can be super bad.
I mean, think about it. You don't know off the top of your head. I want to ask you their kid situation, how many, and they got 4.
Yeah, I think they have. He's got one from Bridget Moynihan. I believe she's got one from a previous marriage. Okay. And I think they have 3 kids. Okay. And they're all relatively young. They're in
their 40s. They've got young but not baby kids, right?
Yeah.
They've been married a decade.
Yeah.
A little over. This is, forget all of their other celebrity stuff. Forget that. Their lifestyle. This is the time where it comes to the test. Because the kids are not babies. A lot of times, unfortunately, sometimes there's a split real early on. But if it's not real early, then you're kind of hanging on.
Yeah.
Trying to work things out. And now the kids get to this place where they're more self-sufficient. Again, they can wipe their own butts and that kind of thing. And particularly for both of them, and they're interesting with their careers, they are veterans in their careers. They're not brand new careers. And so now you start asking questions around and particularly because of their financial situation, what are our priorities? And, given his lifestyle and given her lifestyle, Family, as much as you can say we're dedicated to family, pick two incredibly busy professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Just take that, busy professionals. And they have all the financial means, and this is not unique to absolute celebrities. There are a lot of people who have housekeepers or nannies or people to watch the kids, right? You know, and it's kind of all arranged so that everything is taken care of except the emotional connection.
Yes.
And it just starts, I want to say fading, that's too cliche, but what happens is, okay, our kids, we got this person to look after the kids and someone to pick up the kids after school. And dad's busy, he's got his busy season. Again, I'm trying to equate this not to football. He's got his busy season when he's gone all the time, a lot of sales. Mom's got her busy season, okay, and then there's a little bit of an off season, but those two things match up. And at some point, and it's really an age thing, particularly as they both are at the later stages, for him particularly, of your careers, you're going, what am I doing? What am I doing? Or your spouse is asking, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You've been gone, more or less, most of the time. And, you know, you talked about earlier, you know, when he's home, he's a doting father. Mm-hmm. When she's home, she's a wonderful mother.
He says that too. He says, when I'm with my kids, I try to be father.
But see, this is, that I call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
You don't get, you can, but being a doting father or being a wonderful mother just intermittently and being gone or not present most of the time doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
But it sure as heck doesn't foster a healthy family life. And I am not saying, and hear me clear, I am not saying somebody should be home with the kids all the time and you both shouldn't work, and if you work, but I am telling you, if you are gone that much, then you don't have time to engage with each other. Mm-hmm. You don't have time to engage with your kids. Mm-hmm. And as a result, in some cases, the feelings start to just drift or dilute.
Yeah.
You know, and
it feels like if he could just make it to the end of his NFL career.
Well, that's what we thought.
Work. But we thought that last year.
Well, and that she may have thought that last year too.
He said he was retiring, and the reason he was retiring is to spend more time with his family.
Right. Well,
this reminds me of Urban Meyer a little bit. He pulled the same crap. Urban Meyer, what a piece of crap he is. But he said, I got to spend more time with my family. This is not good. I had a heart attack, blah, 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 blah. What's he do? He takes a job with ESPN that has him on the road more than it does as the Ohio State coach, and whatever. So I'm thinking to myself a couple things. First of all, they had to have a discussion because when he came out of retirement, he had to have, she didn't read it on the bottom line of ESPN that he was coming back.
Right. That probably
so he had to say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about this. And so I'm thinking to myself, if she said, Tom, if this is what you really want to do, I don't like it, but I understand what you got to do, then you set a precedent, and then you're like, okay, so you're giving me your blessing.
Yeah.
Okay? If she's not giving the blessing, then he better or should assume that there could be a breakup that's going to possibly happen. And for him to know that there's a good possibility of a breakup going to happen, then I don't know what that says about him being a father or even a husband in this particular case.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's thought, she'll get over it. She realizes how important this is to me, and she'll be fine. She'll be okay. And maybe she's finally had her last call. Now, we're hearing about her that she has blow-ups a lot. This has happened before, where she gets angry because he misses something or whatever.
Sure.
And then she gets over it because she loves him, and she wants to make things work with him, and they do have 3 kids. The thing I think is really interesting is when you have a situation like this, and this doesn't have to be professional football players. It could be a guy who just works 60 hours a week, right? When you have a family that looks like it's working, she's been with the kids a lot. She is a doting mother. She's obviously older and she's got some side gigs, some side hustles.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, but she's not on the cover of
right.
And so she's still making her money, and he's probably played the old, once I hang it up, I can't go back. I'm 45 years old. He's already played football 9 or 10 years longer than most quarterbacks do. And he's still got something left in his tank. And by the way, he came out in this podcast and said he's coming back because he didn't like the way the season ended last year against the Rams and really felt bad for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he said, I owe it to you to come back, which is a great thing to say, but that's what he said to his wife too. But when she says the kids are healthy, they love me and they love their dad, but I don't think you are putting enough into being a father in this relationship. That's where, because he could sit there and say, when I'm around the kids, we're great. We're good. They love me. They understand Dad's got to work. I'm setting a precedent for work ethic.
Nice.
This is what I got to do.
Yeah.
I'm with them 3 or 4 months out of the year because we're not playing football season. Now, I don't know what he does during his off season, but I see them on vacation a lot.
Yeah.
And this is what dads do. And I'm 45. They're still young. When I hang it up and I'm 46, 47, I'm still going to spend plenty of time, and then I'll have that latter part of my life.
And he is young, yes.
Yeah, he is young.
I mean, you're right. This is one difference with pro athletes as well as I see this in young executives who do really well early on. By the time they're in their mid 40s or early 40s, financially they are set for life. They don't have to work. So yes, it is important that we kind of check that.
My question is, should she set a boundary on when he quits? Because I don't think that works. Because obviously it doesn't work, because he set a boundary last year and he retired and he couldn't stay away. He came back knowing that every year he gets older, the chances of him returning are less and less and less. For her to sit there and say, okay, tell me when you're going to retire. I don't think he can tell her that. Even at the age of 48, if he's still got it and he's being protected in the pocket, I think he's playing if he wants to because he loves it so much. It's what he is, and it defines him who he is. We wouldn't know who Tom Brady is out of Michigan if he hadn't won 7 Super Bowls.
No, I understand that.
So is it fair for her to sit there and say, okay, I know how important this is to you, and I know this makes you happy, but I need to know when this is over and you're going to be around and hanging out with the kids.
Okay, so listen. So we're making an assumption, first of all, that this is being driven by a kid thing. Like you and I, the way you and I are talking right now, we're like, okay, you're not around enough for the kids or whatever.
Based on what we're reading, that's what it appears.
Well, yeah. But it may also be that, forget the kids just for a second, their relationship. I mean, she may be saying, and or he, we're growing apart. We are not connected. Again, independent of the kids. You're a great dad. I'm a great mom. We're great parents. But what she may be saying is we've spent the better part of a decade living two very intermittent lives. And again, we're speculating. I mean, I don't know what she's saying. But if I'm going down that route, it's not always the kids.
Yeah.
It is this path is taking us down a path where we're going to be moving farther and farther apart. We've been married for a decade, and we need to think about what our relationship is with each other. That's another very plausible scenario.
Maybe that's another reason he wants to play football.
Well,
maybe he doesn't want.
No, that's another one. And we see a lot of men do that. They throw themselves in the work, and they say, this is what defines me. Mm-hmm. That is dangerous. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying it's dangerous because if you get to the place where you say, this is my passion, this is who I am, this is what I do, which a lot of pro athletes, a lot of executives, whatever, and your partner says, I understand that, but by you doing what you do for as long as you've been doing it, you are losing me.
Yeah.
I'm not angry at what you do, but you are getting to the point, and it is the ultimatum, although I'm careful about saying the ultimatum, because I'm not necessarily saying she just threw it down and said, you're going to lose me. Mm-hmm. What she may be saying is, we're growing apart.
Yeah.
And the more time we spend down these paths, the less we've got a shot at being together. Now, she may be saying that. He may be saying, you know, this is who I am, this is what keeps me engaged in life, etc. But like that's not a great argument for saving your relationship.
No.
Because by definition what you're saying, and I am passing no judgment on this, and I see clients like this all the time. If your job and your profession is your passion and your partner understands that, it doesn't mean that they also have to understand that the loss of connection is just a part of that.
Let me ask you this. Is it okay that your job is more important to your family? If you're there for your kids, and again, that goes, I know guys that travel 3 or 4 days a week, and the minute they go home, they go to a bar. So they have a couple of cocktails. I'm like, dude, if I was gone for my kids for 3 or 4 days, the first thing I want to do is run home. And that's how they work, and they seem like they've got a good family life. The wife and them gets along real well. It's the way it's been for a long time, baby.
So
yeah,
my question,
maybe.
my question is, this would be my question. If you said, my job is more important than my family, is that okay?
Mhm.
My question would be to you, why is your job more important than your family? And I do this a lot with clients. I am not passing judgment on you.
Yeah.
I truly want to understand, help me understand why you feel like your job is more important to you than your family. Because you could flip it.
Because I find joy in my job that I can't get for my kids or my wife.
Okay. So now the question becomes, is it more important or is it a blend? Is it a, because there are.
You'd like to be able to do both.
Well, you can. But and that's what I'm saying is, there are a lot of people who say, and it's careful, get careful what our words are. I find joy in my job, in my career, that I don't find in my family. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that I don't find joy in my family.
And I think in Tom's situation, and I'm thinking of Ozzy Osbourne too, but Ozzy's
a whole different.
He's 73 years old. And his wife,
I'm not sure he's alive.
I mean, he tried to kill his wife, for God's sake. She stuck with him. For Tom, though, I'm kind of siding a little bit with him in that he's like, I'm running out of time.
I understand
Ozzy's not running out of time, and my kids will always.
Ozzy really is running out of time. Yeah. It could be any day now.
And this is a mistake we make. My kids will always be there. There's an unconditional love there. They love me. And they're only 9, 13, and 17 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my kids will be there on the other side, and then I can give them my full attention. But while my window's still open to do whatever it is, play tennis or any type of athletic sport where you have to have physical well-being, then I need to do this because this is the kind of joy winning championships brings me.
Absolutely.
It's like loving one child more than the other. You don't. It's a different type of love.
Absolutely.
So I don't, when I say your work's more important than your kids, I'm not saying it's a different type of joy that you can't get out of your family. I get that. I understand.
I totally agree.
In a perfect world, you can balance those two things and do those. But if it's, hey, you're missing the recital because you have to go to football practice again, those recitals ain't going to come back around again.
Well, that's exactly. Yep. So that's exactly, and this is where it becomes a priority blend. It's you are going to miss the recital. You do only have a fixed amount of time left, and there may be. I do think I do think there's probably this negotiating. It's almost like trying to pinch out a little bit extra time.
Yeah.
Right? Because he ain't going to play for 10 years.
Yeah, we don't think so.
We're not going to play for 10 years.
Well, we didn't think he'd make it to 45
well,
when we said it 5 years ago.
And she may be saying, listen, I get it, you went back again, but I think here's the other thing that may be happening that we did not talk about. It may be very possible that when he was going to hang it up, things kind of got in a good place, and I'm going to hang it up. She's like, this is good, we're going to go, it's going to be good. And then he changed his mind. You've used this all the time. She's decided to go back to work. And maybe for Giselle and maybe for him, it was, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start playing. Hey, hang on. What happened to our other plans? And what that does is that starts sparking all of the conflict. All the stuff that's underneath that happens in every relationship.
So Michael Bublé, you like Michael? I think he's a great singer. I think he's got a little man complex. I think a lot of people think he's kind of a wuss because of the type of music he plays. And I think he's trying to be a bigger man than he actually is.
I kind of feel like Harry Connick Jr. was probably the only one, the first and the only second crooner.
Yeah, Harry was cool. I mean, and you're going to hear a lot of Michael Bublé over the holidays. He recently came out and said he's got 4 children with his wife. Noah 9, Elias 6, Vida 4, and Cello, who they welcomed last month. Let's remember that. He just welcomed his 4th child. He said, it's funny. You talk to my manager, he's a beautiful guy, but he's managed a lot of big careers. He said flat out, if Bublé didn't get married and have those kids, he'd be a bigger star easily, truthfully. Which I don't think is something that, and by the way, Michael's 43. He said, since I came to the UK to do that press, it meant that on a trip I didn't go to Holland or Italy, I had to make a choice. And that's where his kids were. Okay, where will I spend my time? And that probably wasn't great for Italy, wasn't great for charter numbers in Italy. Holland could have been better. That's what he kind of meant. In other words, he said because he went to the UK to spend time with his kids, he didn't have a chance to travel to these other countries and continue to do concerts and build up his 75 million albums he sold, his 4 Grammys. My manager always said to me, it isn't tough to make the decisions, kids. It's tough to live with the consequences of those decisions.
That's beautiful.
So you can live with the consequences of that.
Can I use that for Instagram? That's so good.
If you put your family first, it's going to hurt your career in those countries. What do you think?
Oh.
And of course, he said, for me, it sucks, of course. I'm telling you that I'm here thinking about it all the time. I'm sitting in a bed thinking, oh, damn.
And his oldest has got cancer. His oldest child has got cancer. So let's just throw that in there. I'm not saying that you should be making your decisions only on the health status of your children, but one of his kids has, and I can't remember the form of cancer, has cancer. So that's a stopper right there.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
He goes on to say that this will be the first time that I actually say these words, but yes, my wife and I are grateful to be expecting our fourth baby, which he posted on Instagram just about a month ago. And I'm thinking to myself, and he did say, listen, I will always put my family first. Mm-hmm. Now, when he says that, his wife may be going, okay. All right, Michael, it's Christmas time. When will we see you? Because he's going to be out doing Christmas shows from here until the end of the year. I love that when guys say, I always put my family first.
I got to go on a sales trip.
Yeah, I got to go on a sales trip. I'll be gone for the next month and a half, but I always put my family first. And again, this sounds like maybe he's married to his manager more than he's married to his wife. The first thing I thought of was, why in the hell are you having a fourth child a month ago if you have to say, I put my family first? Because I think what everyone loves to hear someone say is, family comes first, always comes first. No matter what happens, I will miss the concert to see the birth of my fourth child. Or, my wife is sick and I got to stay home and I'm going to stay home and blah, 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 blah. It takes a special person to be with someone whose time is so much demanded, like a Michael Bublé or even a Tom Brady in this particular case. Yeah. My question to you is, why did he bring this up? This sounds like, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and my friend of mine said, Tony, if you have just done this, then this, and he's telling his wife this, and she's like, okay, your manager's telling you could have sold 100 million albums and maybe won 2 more Grammys if you decided to go to Holland and Italy when you were spending time with your family in the UK. So what are you trying to tell me? Why are you bringing this up?
Well, and it's public, too.
Exactly.
So,
if I'm his wife, I'm pissed.
Yeah, that's just that's a keep it in the family thing. And it's not a dirty secret.
No.
Right? But that is a keep it in the family. And I do think, I don't know. I'm not a celebrity. I don't know about this whole idea of, transparency and how much you're sharing. Mm-hmm. Right? Was it during a podcast or was it an interview? It was an interview.
It was an interview.
Okay. I think that there's some defensiveness and compensation. Hey, let me, I'm not as successful as I would like to be. There's a reason for that, my family, but it's almost like, but I want you to know why that is. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I could have been better, but there's a real reason, and it's not just that I'm not better. So that it has this, like, I don't know, almost this kind of, I need to explain to people, the public, why I wasn't as good or I'm not as good as I could be. Again, I'm like, you don't need, and you're not a failure. You're not a failure. I think that kind of conversation is a real conversation. I really like what the manager said. Mm-hmm. Because, listen.
Well, it sounds like the manager. Maybe the manager doesn't like his wife, but if a manager's like, if you had to, because I don't even know, if you love your family that much, and family always comes first, why as a manager would you tell somebody, dude, you'd be so much bigger if you didn't have this kid?
Well, that's tone. That's tone.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the manager stands to make money off of you.
Yeah.
So, I've seen a lot of executives say I'm glad that it's said, because I see it going unsaid. A lot of executives will say to sort of people coming up, VPs or whatever, you can stay home. We understand that, but if you're on this sales trip with us, it really shows your dedication. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, that is changing dramatically with things like this and what you're seeing in the workplace, because there's a generation. And I haven't even got into the women, the woman part of it. But with guys, it's like, hey, we're all going golfing, mm-hmm. I'm going to stay with my family. Okay, you do what you need to do. And there's never we're penalizing you for it. It's you're just going to miss out on opportunities.
Yeah.
Barack Obama got in trouble for this by not hanging out with the Republicans and going to have a beer. Mm-hmm. Remember, the people were like, "Oh my God, he's very aloof."
Yeah.
Well, he's like, "I want to spend time with my family."
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't count. My concern is it gets even worse with women in the workplace. You're welcome to come with us. We're all going to go out right after dinner. Right after work, we're going to go out for drinks and hang out at a bar. Mm-hmm. And this is a woman executive. Why don't you come with us? Oh, you got to pick up your kids.
Yeah.
We get it. We understand. Not we don't.
Yeah.
Not really. And so the manager could be going either way. He could either be saying from his heart, hey, look, I want you to know that you are great, Michael Bublé, and you made a decision. I'm not faulting you for it, but I want you to know how great you could have been, not to say that you're not great.
There's a lot of guys, and for women too, they get an opportunity at work, and it's a huge jump up. It's what they wanted to do their entire life. I'm finally getting the opportunity to do this, but there's going to be a lot of travel involved, and I'm going to be gone a lot more. You need to have that conversation with your husband or your wife.
And that's
okay.
I know
this is what you love, and this is what's going to be. And then you're getting the old, phone calls at 11 o'clock. Hey, my flight didn't come in. You're going to miss the birthday party. Those things happen. And in Michael Bublé's case, and in Tom Brady's case, they've got bank. They've got their money.
I was going to say
they've already found success. Michael Bublé at the age of 43, I guess it was 43, could be saying, "Hey, listen, I can only sing another 6 or 7 years before I start losing my voice." And at that age, I don't want to turn into Wayne Newton. I don't want to be playing in Branson. Okay, and that's one of those things where there's a lot of guys that do it right, and women do it right, where they do make the sacrifices. I was supposed to be at this, whatever that is, but because I'm having the birth of my child or my kid's birthday party's coming up, and they're in a financial situation where they can tell them, hey, listen, I'm not doing it, and that's great. Now, if you're sitting at home with your kids, looking at your watch, going, damn, I've been on stage 5 minutes ago, and I'm really missing that, and there's a resentment that comes with that, then that kind of backfires on you a little.
Well, and that's a transition, man, that is...
And it takes an incredibly understanding significant other to understand how important something is to you when it's work-related, but they want you or need you.
But if you've made that decision, again, I see this, oh my God, I can't tell you how many of my clients have this. They're men, mostly. Actually, men and women who have worked, they're just working like crazy. They're in a really good place. They've got some job security so that they can start making these, like, they don't got to be there 24/7. And they come to the conclusion, I have got to spend more time with my family, right?
Yeah.
And so they say, that's what I'm going to do. So they arrange their schedule, they're home more, but what they're doing is they're looking at the phone.
Yeah.
And they're taking a phone call. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like ADD. You can see them. And what happens is, you have to be careful about how you interpret that. Because on the one hand, you can say, see, look, I'm not really happy. So, on the other is, no. You got to make an adjustment. Like, you got to learn how to be engaged again with your family. Mm-hmm. And I work with a lot of people that way, saying, stop. You're looking at your phone and you're twitchy because you haven't done this in a while.
So even though you're there with the kids, you're really not engaged with them. You might as well be on stage.
No.
Playing football.
What I'm saying is, yes, if that's the way you're going to stay.
Yeah.
But if you are truly committed to being back engaged with your family, then you're not going to be, over time, you're not going to be looking at football. Yep. You're not going to be saying, I wish I was on stage. You're going to be paying attention. But my point is, it takes some time to make that shift.
Yeah. And again, I go back to the Ozzy Osbourne story. He loved being with his kids. I mean, they did a show. They were taking video. He's on the couch. He's laughing. He's putting the faces on.
I just think
the kids
so
loved it.
And
eventually, Sharon's like, "You're not happy here. You need to get back on the road." And he was like, "Thank you." She's like, "He was a caged animal. He was a bird in a cage." So it's just really interesting. Hopefully, you have an opportunity in your life where you do have to make those decisions, because if you're in a situation where you can make a lot more money, the funny thing is I really need to do this to get ahead, and then I can back off a little bit. It never works that way.
No.
And if you're doing it now to go make extra bank, I just got to really put these next 3 or 4 years in to get ahead, and then I can open my own business. And I can do my own thing.
Well, and that's different too. You gotta, then it becomes, and I've seen this conversation. This is how much money do we need?
Yeah.
Look, if you got to do this to put food on the table,
like, well,
it's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
And that is.
But if she needs to get a new Mercedes,
right? No, but that's a huge issue because now you're getting into what's important.
We got a guy getting a haircut at the U.S. Open. We'll talk about that, and also
it was me.
We have a great thing that came out of COVID, but not for kids. We'll talk about that and global catastrophes. I want to get into that. Talk about one of our great sponsors here before we move on, my man.
Let me tell you about Adaptogen.
Yes.
Adaptogen, sponsor of Adapter Pairs with Dr. Alex Hubline and Dr. Me. Adaptogen is an amazing technology company. They are a software company that has been in business while the name has changed for almost 40 years, which is like unheard of in a GE or whatever a world. And their software, they really found a great niche. Their software is designed to go in and work with your existing old clunky stuff that you can't get rid of in a business, but you've got to update it. And they go in and they use their software to update yours without taking away all the things that are working it. They are that's why they call themselves Adaptogen. And they are amazing at going in to some of the largest organizations. You would think that some of the largest organizations, banking, etc., would have like the most sophisticated. No, it's like clunky old stuff because they've had it for 30, 40 years. Adaptogen goes in, modernizes it without lifting out the entire mainframe work. And that they are a proud sponsor of us. They are also great consultants when it comes to helping companies figure out how much updating do I need, what's going to move us forward, what's going to slow us down, and they're absolutely great.
It's a great show. You guys have done a great job. Adapter Parish airs every single Monday through Friday at 12 noon here on TKR and Tony Curry Radio. Download the TKR app, Android or Apple, and it's fantastic. And you guys have a show that runs every single day of the week. And, of course, you can also go back and listen to some 40 or 50 different episodes. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, Tony Curry Radio Podcast, check out Adapt or Perish. It's a great show. I'll be honest with you, when we first got the show going, I was like, this sounds kind of boring. It's a great show. You guys use topical stuff. It's a fantastic show. Some great stuff that came from COVID. New York just announced yesterday, again, for the second consecutive year, and a lot of other states are about to adopt this policy. You know what they do there for kids with the winter coming up? No more school days. No more snow days for kids.
Why? What if it snows?
They're going virtual.
Oh,
it sucks, and parents are having all kinds of problems with it. They're like, wait a minute.
Correct.
So if you have a snow day, you're still going to school virtually. That sucks.
I know. It's great, though.
On average, it snows
terrible.
13 days a year in New York. They have about 10 snow days, and kids got to go to school. That was like one of the greatest things, and certainly here in Alabama, it doesn't happen very often.
But we get all excited.
1 or 2 hour delays, no snow days. You're going to school on your days. That sucks. Now, a lot of other states are like, COVID. We did virtual. It seemed to work. Not really, no. No, I don't know if kids are going to be going to school for 9 hours because I don't know any kid that went to school for 9 hours.
I told you, my sister was a elementary school teacher, 2nd grade.
Yeah.
For 35 years. COVID took her out. COVID was like, she tried to teach 2nd graders, Tony, 8 hours a day.
No way.
And she was like...
It took a month just to figure out how to do Zoom and stuff.
Yes, she retired. She retired. Now, that's sad.
Yeah.
But I can understand it. I get it.
Do you know who Gideon is? Jidion?
Gideon?
Gideon? He's a big YouTuber. He's got millions and millions of followers. He was in the front row for the U.S. Open last night. And he put a cape on, and a dude came behind him and started cutting his hair. He got a haircut at the U.S. Open. It's not the first time he's done it. He did it at Timberwolves Mavericks game last year where he got a haircut during the actual match itself. You scream and foul there. Some people were bemused by it. Other people were pissed. They're like, what are you doing going to a sporting event and getting a haircut? Why are you doing it now? But he was getting a haircut.
What was it? Did they interview him?
No. He was getting a haircut. Just want to get his haircut. Thought I'd knock 2 birds with one stone.
It's not like, that's just like, you know what? Let's just make it all about you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he's a YouTuber. It is all about him.
were they filming it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's talking about it.
I
Did you imagine getting a haircut at a baseball game?
no, because I don't want to hear.
All right, so all we're hearing about is how the world has gone to hell. We got
dude.
forest fires, climate control.
I got roaches
we're out of
in my
electricity,
house.
You got
There's
roaches,
squirrels that are
giant
flipping
spiders.
the bird to me.
Polar bears are gone. They're extinct. I mean, we got nothing left. The ice caps are melting at an alarming rate. The oceans are rising. We got worse storms, although we haven't had a stinking hurricane all year long. Right now, it's the peak of hurricane season. There's nothing out there.
There's some things.
Yeah, it's swirling around. Nothing. We can blame the Sahara Desert in Africa for that because that's where all the hurricanes come from. It's the dust that blows up, and we've had. I mean, this was supposed to be an abnormally busy hurricane season. We should get JP Dice on and find out what the hell's going on.
Oh, it's going to come
and
back.
I'm glad. I'm happy.
It's not done yet. We may get it all at once.
So this really interesting environmental group came out and said, "Is it really as bad as we think it is?" I was even thinking the other day, because there's more wildfires in LA and in California right now, and I'm like, is there anything left to burn? They're talking about an acre a second being burned. It just should tell you just how big this world is. It's like an acre a second, okay? 60 acres in a minute is being burned.
Yep.
And I'm like, how much land do we have?
It's all in Wyoming.
So we're incessantly told about disasters, whether it's the latest heat wave, flood, wildfire, or storm. Yet the data overwhelmingly shows that over the past century, people have become much, much safer from all these weather events and everything else that's going around the world. This is outside nuclear and stuff we actually create. In the 1920s, around 500,000 people were killed by weather disasters.
Well, yeah, because...
Whereas the last decade, a death toll averaged around 18,000.
Well, that's because we know what we're doing. We adapted.
Because when people get richer, they get more resilient, is what it says. Around 1900, 4.5% of the land area of the world would burn every year. Over the last century, it has declined to 3.2%. In 2021, which was one of the most fire-laden years we ever had, it was 2.5% burned. This has happened mostly because richer societies prevent fires. Models show that by the end of the century, despite climate change, human adaptation will mean even less burning. A decade ago, environmentalists loudly declared that Australia's magnificent Great Barrier Reef was nearly dead, killed by bleaching caused by climate change. The UK Guardian even published an obituary. This year, scientists revealed that 2/3 of the Great Barrier Reef show the highest coral cover since it's been recorded since 1985.
We're turning it around.
The Good News Report got a fraction of the attention. I just saw a story the other day about the Great Barrier Reef and how...
But we're turning it around. It's not...
Not long ago, environmentalists constantly used pictures of polar bears to highlight the dangers of climate change. Polar bears even featured in Al Gore's terrifying movie, An Inconvenient Truth. But the reality is polar bear numbers have been increasing.
Yes, because we're doing something about it.
Somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 polar bears in the 1960s, up to 26,000 polar bears today. We don't hear that news. We don't. We are turning around, but we don't hear those news. All we hear about is we adopt a polar bear. I got one last night. I'm in $30 a month. Human life expectancy. You know what it was in 1920?
Not 60 years.
30 years old. 36 years old.
Really? No.
In 1920.
No, that can't be right.
Coal. We didn't have unions.
Man, I got some longevity in my family.
More than 72 years old today, so it's doubled. 100 years ago, 3/4 of the world's population lived in extreme poverty.
Yeah.
Now it's less than 1/10.
Well, yeah, okay.
Consider all the attention to heat waves. In the United States and many other parts of the world, heat deaths are actually declining.
Heat deaths are.
Yep, because access to air conditioning helps much more than rising temperatures hurt. However, almost everywhere, the cold quietly kills more people. In the U.S., about 20,000 people die from heat every year, but 170,000 die from the cold. We rarely focus on that. It's a couple things to think about. Listen, I don't think the world's healthier now than it was. I think our waterways are just shit.
Yes.
I remember when the BP oil spill happened, and we had the camera on the leak, and millions of gallons of oil were just, and it was live, and we were watching it. People were crying. I was on the coast the day the oil came up on shore. There were hundreds of people on the shore, just tears, and birds had crap all over. It was horrible. It was terrible. So my brother, who works for a corporation that is a government corporation called Patel up in Columbus. He no longer does it. He's an environmentalist. And I called him up and I asked him, what do you think about this? Waiting for him to tell me how horrible it is. He said, Tony, he said, fill up your bathtub all the way and take an eardropper and drop one drop in and let it go. He goes, that's what we're dealing with right now. He said, it's no big deal. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, we see the animals and we see how it has affected the fishing industry and all those things. But you know what? They were saying the beaches are going to be closed for 10 years. They said the fishing industry would never come back. They said it was going to affect, the lobster and the crab and crawfish and all the stuff. And for the most part, it's come back as healthy as it's ever been. We're resilient and things happen. And a lot of people would say that, that was raw material that was coming out. There's oil leaks all over the world. Not from just drilling. And I'm not saying that the BP shouldn't have been under the gun for it. They did clean it up. I think there's still $10 billion left in that fund. That's why everyone's opening up businesses down in Florida, because they want a piece of that money. You can open up a busy now, 10 years later, and still get money from that fund. My point is we need to do a better job at cleaning up behind ourselves. But not so much for us, but for future generations. The fact that we're already talking about trying to live on Mars because this Earth is going to hell within the next 10 years is ridiculous.
So I get worried, I get concerned about the...
And I'm a conservationist, by the way.
I know,
I'm
you
an
are.
environmentalist, and I love the environment.
Yes.
I do. I hate when people throw wrappers out their windows. It drives me crazy because we can all help, and I know we have a major plastic issue in this country. I started doing the Brita water things because I know I go through a case of water every single week, although I will have a bottle of water because I got it in my refrigerator and I need to finish it because I can't throw it away.
So, I do get worried. What I get worried about is sort of groupthink. The idea that, it's going to be fine, or it's fine because all the numbers that you just gave, it's not as bad as. That may be true, but I don't know what the analogy. It's like taking a cookie out of a cookie jar. It's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. Yeah, but if you're teaching a child that it's okay to steal, lots of people will say it's not good for the earth, right? So to me, that there's a difference between saying you're killing everything off and what you're doing is fine. What I get concerned about is what you're doing is not fine. It is having an impact. It's not as bad as you may think it is.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, what's our job? You've heard about it. Aren't we supposed to be stewards of this world?
Yeah.
And if we're supposed to be stewards of this world, then just because we're not destroying it doesn't mean we should engage in behaviors that are destructive to the society. Plus, I think you start splitting hairs, right? See, it's not so bad if we burn fossil fuels, or it's not so bad, if there's an oil spill. But what about the plastic?
Yeah.
So what do we get a list? These are okay. You can spill oil.
We need to do a better job, and I do believe in the science that the polar caps are melting at an alarming rate. We know that the height of the ocean waters are increasing, and that certainly plays into storm surge. And I do think, we are such into death and destruction. That's what I was talking about. Good news never sells. And a little good news. It always runs the last story if they have time for it on Fox 6.
On a happy note.
On a happy note, because no one wants to watch it. We want to see death and destruction. We want to watch the train wreck. And it goes along with my sinkhole mentality. As soon as something bad happens, it seems like it happens everywhere. You'll find it wherever you go.
But maybe we should paint the picture differently. And we've done this a little bit. To me, it's more compelling instead of just saying good news, like just, hey, the Great Barrier Reef's not really dying. I would rather see a story on efforts to save the Great Barrier Reef, and look what it's done. Yeah. And you see these stories. This person has gone in and they've created artificial reefs and there's something, and look how good it's done. Like, to me, that's a more compelling story than, no, we just got it wrong. Yeah. And there's really more polar bears than we thought.
If you had a headline that said the last polar bear may be dead by 2035, next to a headline that said polar bears are coming back thanks to conservationists, we'd be looking at the last polar bear story.
Well, of course.
Because we go, wow. Because we want stories that are like, whoa, I got to read that story because that's catastrophic. That's unbelievable. We don't want to read about the good news stories. And I get that. That's why they get shuffled back. And to this writer's effect, the reason I pulled the story up was because you want to say, ha-ha. That's the aha moment.
See?
If it said, hey, life's pretty beautiful. Read about these wonderful stats. I wouldn't have read it.
Right.
One person I can read pretty good is Chris Dorsey, State Farm team. He's great. I've been with him since 1988. Everything I've got here in Tony Kurre Radio, everything in my house, all my cars, my son started driving a year ago, goes to Chris Dorsey, State Farm team. He's a top 10 State Farm agent out of 18,500 in the United States of America, which is incredible. We have that crown jewel right here in Birmingham. He's down there on John Hawkins Parkway, 985-7799, 985-7799. If you're wanting to get the name brand of State Farm behind you, it's funny because when you get in a car accident and someone says, what's your insurance? They go, and I'm not going to name another insurance company, but you know what I'm talking about.
Blah, blah, blah.
And you're
insurance.
like, your insurance, I go, oh, no.
Yeah. But if you say State Farm.
If you say State Farm, they're like, oh, State Farm. Oh, yeah, State Farm's good. We work with them all the time. They're great. And you're not going to pay more than you are anywhere else. You're not. It's unbelievable. You get what you pay for. You do it with State Farm. 985-7799. They're great. Later on tonight, every single show we play runs 5 days a week. Starts at 10 o'clock this morning with Mission Mining with Michael Coleman from the Montgomery Food Bank. I had a great conversation with him yesterday. You'll hear that interview 10 o'clock this morning. Adaptive Parish at noon. Then we have Need to Know with Kip Kiefer. Want to Bet coming up on Saturday mornings at 9, 11, 1, and 3. Those are all Central Times. Great show. He gives out free picks. It's live from Las Vegas. We have, of course, wonderful show, and I love this. I was listening to it yesterday at 4 o'clock. It runs every Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock, with our good friend Stuart Rome. When in Rome with Stuart Rome, he's doing his best tailgate songs.
That's great.
We were playing Big Yellow Taxi from Joni Mitchell yesterday on the show. It was great. Rockin' the Free World from Neil Young was a great show. You have Austin Hanks, Blues Almighty. You have the Damon Johnson show. I reached out to him yesterday, and I got his text. I need to find out what he's up to. He's on the road with Brother Kane. He has his own show. He did a show yesterday that we recorded earlier about his top 6 garage band tunes that he played when he first started playing guitar. It was great. Taking Care of Business in there. Tush from ZZ Top. It's great. Check out all of our shows on the TKR app. TKR. Download the TKR app. You're going to be doing me a huge favor, Dr. Josh a huge favor. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But I promise you're going to love it. Every review we got is a 5-star review. It's fantastic. Great classic rock and roll. And, of course, check us out on the Tony Kurre Radio podcast series. We're on every major indice out there. For any of our musically elemented shows, you got to go to Spotify because it's the only podcast series that will play music and talk at the same time. So it's great. So check it out. All of our shows are up. We're going to get after it later on tonight. It's the only show we run one day a week. That is Live Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Southern Precision Staffing. Kai Gregory is a great friend of mine. Love his partnership. Very loyal to him, and he's loyal to me. And I love him for him. 205-682-2828. 205-682-2828. Southern Precision Staffing for your construction, staffing, or anything else you need. They're right here in Hoover, Alabama. They serve the United States of America, where your word and your handshake still means something. Live Wire Wednesday later on tonight. We're doing AC/DC title tracks. They have had 18 studio albums out, and of those 18, 15 of them have studio tracks, in other words, or title tracks. Back in Black is a song and the title of the album.
Okay.
Got me?
Yes.
For example, Powerage, which is a great album from AC/DC, one of my favorites, does not have a song called Powerage, so it's not a title track, so you won't hear it. Highway to Hell, Dirty Deeds, High Voltage, TNT, Razor's Edge,
so
Ball Breaker. Yeah, we do a full hour of that stuff later on tonight, right around 8 o'clock Central. It's a great show, and it's our most listened to show. Buddy Little, good morning to you. It's our most listened to show in international lands. We have like 40,000 people that listen in Sydney, Australia. We have them in Yemen. We have Ukrainian fighters getting after it. So it's a great show, so check it out. Join us again in 30 minutes on Fox 6. I guess we're talking about the Michael Bublé story. Whatever they want to talk about, we'll be ready to go, man. We'll talk about anything here on Kurre and Klapow. It's great. And, of course, you go to the Fox 6 page. You found it yesterday. I guess if you go to the Fox 6 app.
If you go to Fox 6, Fox 6 webpage.
Yeah.
And just
search Klapow.
Search Klapow or Kurre and Klapow. Actually, it's Klapow.
Just Klapow.
Sorry, Klapow, and you will get all of our classic Kurre and Klapow shows.
Kurre and Klapow classics.
Oh my God, we said something. Oh my, what were we thinking?
Yeah, don't tell Fox is still up there on their website.
Yeah,
shh. They're great. I posted one yesterday as a fan. As soon as I saw one about intimacy and relationships, I was like, that one's going back out. I love it. All right, thanks for watching this morning here on Facebook and Facebook Live. We'll get after it again tomorrow morning here. And again, we'll be on Fox 6 in about 30 minutes right here with Kurre and Klapow. And thanks, of course, to our great partnership with Fox 6. They've been great, WBRC. We love them. Thank you and have a great day. We love you.